We're going to continue our discussion of the nested if flowchart that we had in a previous video. How would we code it? Remember that the problem statement had to do with ages and genders of drivers. Male drivers 21 and younger, female drivers 19 and younger, drivers 65 and older, and then everybody else. So depending on which class they fit in, we would put a text item into a message box. Here was the flowchart. Recall that we had subject operator object gender equal M, subject operator object age less than or equal to 21. Each one of those conditions was enclosed in its own set of parentheses, and they were joined with a logical AND. They both have to be true in order for the whole thing to be true. So in other words, I could have a 45-year-old guy, and that would not be a true condition there. If it is true, we go to the right and do the action there. If not, we go to the left and take the action, the next action that happens. Way back when I first started programming, I worked at a company that did not permit compound conditions, did not permit nested ifs, and did not permit the use of not in a condition. If this were the case, well, some people might call this spaghetti code. Well, spaghetti code is using a goto and just going randomly all over the place. We did treat this technique in a fairly structured way. It may be considered unstructured, but yet we had some rules. If we take a look at the code here, if gender equal M and age less than or equal to 21, then message equals go to 020 next. So in each one of these cases, we check the condition, put something in the message, and then we exit out of it, which does resemble our rules of single entry point, single exit point. We did not go backwards. So if you had a programming language like that or a situation like that, then only going forward and tending to go forward to the same spot did make so-called unstructured code somewhat structured. But let's take a look at what we would do nowadays. Okay, here's our first flowchart, and we'll put it up line by line. So there's the if statement for the first condition box. The one thing that's true is PowerPoint insists on using the curly quotes opposite facing. If you were to cut and paste this into your program editor, you would get into trouble because your program editor wants the straight up and down quotes, which are different. But that's just way too much trouble to go to for a presentation like this. Plus, it gives me the chance to tell you that if you do code your code in a word processor, these double quotes are going to mess you up. Let's go on. Now, if we have this condition, we must do the item on the true side first. So message equal young male driver, but we have to indent it like so. Notice that it's to the right of the condition, so it's indented to the right. Following the line below that on down, we come to the end of the arrow, which says, oh, that's the end of the true side. So let's go then to the false side. False is indicated with the word else. So now we follow the false line on the left down to the next condition. It is indented. If gender equal F and age less than or equal to 19, then, okay, we're going to do the true one. We have to do the true side first. The flowchart's going to jump a little when I click to the next screen. So we do the true item Message equal young female driver. We follow the line down. We get to the double facing arrows. Oh, we're done with the true side. So now we have to do the false side. Else. The next condition, if age is greater than or equal to 65. Notice how the indentation is working. The else is lined up with its corresponding if. Each one is indented a notch depending on its relationship to the previous one. The flowchart will jump again. So if we get the true side, message equals elderly driver, we follow it through, we're done with the true side, so we're going to have to do the false side, else, message equals other driver. We are now done with all of the statements, and the thing that we have left are the double-facing arrows, which would be the end if, the scope terminator, the code that ends a particular selection box. So we can see our whole flowchart again. Our first one, then, working through, is the one that closes off the age greater than or equal to 65 box. That end if lines up with the if, the corresponding else, and then the end if. So those three things have to line up. Any code that was on the sequence side of it is indented. Now for the next one in there, two facing arrows means it's an end if. It is the one that is going to be the end if for gender equal F and age less than or equal to 19. And so notice where this end if lines up. Finally, we have the last end if, and it's going to be for the first box. If gender equal M and age less than or equal to 21. And so there we have it. You should take a moment to look at this. Pause the video if you need to. You must understand exactly why everything is placed where it is, the order it is. Some general rules. I've got 3 diamonds. That means I have 3 ifs. I have 3 elses, and I have 3 end ifs. No more, no less. We will have students who overcodes things. They will throw in an end if. Right after message equal young male driver, they'll throw in an end if. Well, we got to the end if. No, you can't put the end if until you've done both the true and the false side. Okay, there's going to be some exercises following this. And if at any time you get it, just stop watching the videos and do the exercises. I don't want to bore you to tears on this. But for those of you who don't get it, we've got many videos out there for you to watch until you do. This is something that you've got to have 100%. You can't go around saying, well, maybe if I change this over here, it'll work, I hope. You have to know why things work and why they don't. And understanding how your nested ifs work will save you a lot of grief in later classes.